Hello everyone. In this video we are going to begin connecting the upper body controllers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the root control, and then I'm going to shift select the root joint, and then under constrain I'm going to go to parent, and I'm going to click this little um, settings box, and I'm going to make sure I have maintain offset on and constrain axes, translate, rotate, and weight at 1, and it should just look like this. Okay, and then just hit add, and now you should see that your root controller is moving the entire rig. Now this will be important later, but for now we're going to keep it like that, and then also it'll rotate it too. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this waist controller, and then I'm going to shift select the waist joint, and I'm going to go to constrain, and this time I'm going to go to orient, and I'm going to click on this little settings box. Make sure you have maintain offset on, and then just make sure your settings look just like this: constrain axes all, and weight 1, or basically 100%, and then click add. And you'll notice on this joint it becomes blue in these directions. And by the way, if you have not done this yet, make sure before you start anything on this that all of your controllers have been frozen transformation, meaning XYZ, rotate XYZ are all at 0, and scale XYZ are at 1. And you do that just by modify freeze transformations. Alright, so now that that's done, I think it's easiest to do one at a time, right? Just knock one down, move on to the next one. I find it to be a little bit confusing when doing one step for everything and then coming back and then doing another step for everything, because you might overpass one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my waist control. I already know it's going to rotate this entire character, but the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to highlight the controller, the root controller. So from the waist control to the root control, I'm holding shift, select this one, hold shift, select the root control, tap P on your keyboard for parent, and now anytime you move this one, it's going to move both of them, and so on and so forth. So we're going to continue the same process all the way through. So the next thing I'm going to do is, again, first I'm going to make sure my information here is frozen transformations. I'm going to shift select this joint, spine 1 control to spine 1 joint, and then I'm going to go to constrain, and then orient, and then I'm going to parent. And you'll notice that works, and now these are working, and so on and so forth. And what this is actually called is an FK setup. Up to this point, we're going to get into IK in the legs when we get to creating the controllers and everything for the legs. But IK stands for forward kinematics. IK stands for inverse kinematics. So our entire upper body we're going to control using forward kinematics, and the entire lower body we're going to do using inverse kinematics. But for now, just think of it, we're just basically moving forward through this progression, hence forward kinematics. So, you know, this one is forwardly going to control the next one, and so on and so forth all the way through the rig. Okay, so we left off on this one, and you can always check just by selecting on the joint and seeing those blue little highlights. Now, I'm going to select this one. I'm going to shift select the joint, and then constrain, orient, and then I'm going to parent this one to the previous one, and I'm going to do this all the way through. Constrain, orient, and then parent this to the next one. And I could do the neck to the chest, constrain, orient. Oh, I'm sorry. The neck to the neck joint, constrain orient, and the neck controller to the neck, or the chest, parent. Okay? And then I would just run a quick test every time you do this just to make sure. Okay? It's easier to find your mistakes as you're working on it than find out later and fix it, because it's a lot easier to fix them earlier than later. Alright, so the next thing I'll do is the head, and this one, constrain orient, and then this is going to go to the neck, and we're going to parent. So now we've done everything down the entire body. So you'll see if I just kind of click, and you'll see how it's sort of forward kinematics in that way. So now we're going to work our way down the arm, and I'll start with this one, and I'll do constrain orient. Same thing here. Constrain orient. And these two I'm going to parent to the chest control. And now the shoulder, and let me just make sure. Perfect. Now the shoulder, select one, shift select the other, constrain orient, and then we're going to parent this to the clav. And then the same thing here, constrain orient, P, and same thing here, constrain orient, and P. Okay. And P is to parent. And now I'll do the same thing here, constrain orient, and then we're going to take this one, parent it to the clav. And this is actually a sort of an optional thing. You could actually parent the shoulder here instead of parenting it to the clav. It'll basically overwrite it right away. You could parent it to the chest instead of the clav, and the clav can sort of act as its own. So that's definitely something to look into. But I think for the easiness of it, we'll just keep all the arms down, and then if later on you want to decide to switch it up, you always can. But for now, just to keep it easier, we'll keep it all our ducks in a row, if you will. So the next one, I just want to make sure I did this one. Yep. And you have to make sure you keep that maintain offset on, constrain orient. And you need to do these basically one at a time, by the way, also. All right. And that should do it. So just make sure that all your controllers are working. And you'll notice that the arm now is, working pretty well. It's easier to see it, I think, on the arm. Then we have the wrist. And you'll always know the default starting pose when everything's at 0, which is great. It makes things much, much easier, especially when animating. So anyway, that's all I've got for you in this video. If you do have any questions, be sure to shoot me a message. And thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.